All right, Mike, thank you so much for putting yourself out there for our veteran job seekers. Like we say at Veteran Hiring Solutions, people don't follow companies, they follow leaders. So before we get into your engineering department and the needs that you have, can we hear a little about you, your military background, and then your journey through Linde?
Certainly, I appreciate that. Thanks very much, Justin. My career started back after high school. I went to West Point, class of 1985, a long time ago. From there, I went out into the artillery for 5 years. And then I decided that I wanted to jump out and see what's available in the civilian marketplace. My first job was with a company called Airco. And Airco evolved into what is now Linde, which is the company I
Oh,
work for
wow.
now. Yeah.
Oh,
It's kind of a funny trail, but I eventually made it right back to where I started. So in my career, straight out of the Army, I started off as a regional engineer in the Northeast, and then a couple years after that, I was sent out to Phoenix, where I was the assistant plant manager first at the Phoenix plant, and then became the plant manager. After a stint there, I went back to the corporate office. At that time, it was in New Jersey, and I was an engineering manager. I worked on projects and new developmental projects. And I was a participant in building the Medford plant, which is now part of Linde also, by the way.
oh yeah.
Yeah, it's
What we're going to talk about
interesting.
today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's where one of the positions is. Actually, two of the positions are open at
Mhm.
this point. The From there, I went out to our San Marcos development facility, San Marcos, California, and I managed the development site for 5 years. And still in the same semiconductor special gases field. Now it was BOC Gases was the name of the company at that point. And then I took kind of a 3.5 year hiatus from the gases industry, and went up to LA, and I worked on a Navy project, believe it or not.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
yeah, there was a water purification project I worked on for a short period of time. And we developed a prototype water purification system that actually wound up on the USS Ford. So
Oh, that's cool. Still
pretty
service.
interesting. Yeah, it is, absolutely. So when that project was winding down, I jumped back into the gases industry and I joined Praxair out of their corporate headquarters in Buffalo at the time, or U.S. headquarters in Buffalo. And I was got into engineering again, engineering manager, and grew up there. Finally, was promoted to director of engineering. Went out to the Kingman plant for 6 years. Then, after the merger with Linde, I moved out here to New Jersey, where I am today.
Mm.
So,
And your responsibility now is the director of engineering?
engineering director, right? And I have one counterpart who's director of project management, and I lead all the plant engineering folks. So, all the plant engineering teams report to me. And so we primarily support operations. So, we'll say 40 to 60% of our load really is just supporting the operating plants. And that is a wide variety of things that we do there. And we can get into that a little bit later. But,
Yeah, I was going to say, why don't we jump
to
into
kind
the engineering team a little bit of kind of because we're going to talk about there's a project engineer, plant engineer, process engineer.
yeah,
So can you talk about like those, your team itself, how they're built inside the plant, and then how corporate is supporting those people inside the plant? Does that make sense? Like you have the plant
sure.
engineer
Sure.
inside so that
Yeah.
they can
Yeah.
visualize the team.
Yeah. So just to sum up before we go there, I've had if I take the 3 years out that I was out doing that Navy job, I've had 32 years of industry experience in gases in electronics. It's
Wow.
been a very interesting career. I say that purposefully because it has never been boring. There's always something new coming along, as you can expect from the semiconductor marketplace, and now is no different. Keep pushing the limits on what is possible, and that's
Well,
one of the things that makes this interesting.
well, I was going to say too, I always talk about when I talk about specialty gases, I refer to
Yeah,
the gold rush and say, hey,
right.
semiconductors are like the gold rush, where some people get rich, some people fell out. But you know who the group that became wealthy across the board during the gold rush? The
Yeah,
ones that sold those prospectors the picks, the axes, the pans. And
absolutely.
that's Linde, that's specialty gas. No matter if it's ADM, if it's Global Foundries or whoever, is producing that product, the
Yep,
Linde gas is going. And so that's the consistency behind the scenes of this industry that people don't understand.
absolutely. And if you add to that the fact that there are very few of us suppliers to that marketplace,
Hmm.
and the complexity of the marketplace makes it very difficult for anyone else to join. This is what it is, right? So the competition is pretty good, but you have to be at the leading edge of technology to be successful here.
Yes, 100%. And
Yep.
so going through the engineering department and how it's structured at the plant level, because we're going to talk about Kingman, Arizona, Medford, Oregon, and then we have like the Charlotte Triangle area for North Carolina, or really and then New Jersey, right? So we
Right.
have a couple of different
So
roles.
we have six plants: Alpha, New Jersey, RTP, which is Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina, Kingman, Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona, and then Medford, Oregon. And the sixth one is a new plant in Cherokee, Alabama, and that is starting up this summer. So
Great.
there's a new plant.
Okay, and then maybe let's start from the ground
Okay.
floor. Inside that plant, there's a job title called plant engineer. And this is one of the roles that you're hiring for right now. What is the plant engineer's role and responsibility within that site and then within the team as a whole?
Okay, that's a good question. If I could start maybe at the top, I'll give you a better idea, I think. So for each plant, there's an engineering manager, and they're
Mhm.
responsible for all the engineering activities in the plant. And they work directly with the plant manager. They work directly, obviously, they report to me, but they work with the safety department, the quality department, and all those folks to make sure that the things that we do in the plant comply with all of our requirements, from safety, quality to customer requirements. And each plant, depending on its size, will have a number of plant engineers reporting
Mhm.
to that engineering manager. Our biggest plant has four, and our smallest plant has two engineering managers. That kind of gives you the structure of the plant.
Mhm.
In addition to the plant engineers, we also have process engineers, and that's another role within our engineering group, so to say. And the process engineers will support process design. They'll
Mhm.
support things like in regulation support, like their standards for or regulations around EPA, FDA,
Mhm. Yeah.
electrical requirements. They'll make sure that all of our systems are in compliance with those requirements. Um, and then the other organization that is part of our engineering, actually a couple more, one other is the project execution team.
Yes.
And these people tend to be the more experienced project execution people, project managers, and they will be the leader of the bigger projects. Whereas the plant execution teams, so the plant engineering teams, they'll
Mhm.
handle some of the smaller, simpler projects that are plant based instead of the bigger ones. Now, when I say big, I mean usually they're more complex. The installation of a distillation column, for example, tends to be a big, complex project that a team will be used to manage. Inside the plant, a plant engineer may
Mhm.
modify the function of an existing one to make it more efficient or to meet a new
Oh.
customer requirement, right?
Mhm.
So still just as important, but someone with a little bit less experience can handle. So as you go up and scale in the engineering group, as you gain experience, I should say, you gain more, you get the ability to handle bigger and more complex things. I guess that's how it goes. It's all experience
So,
based.
yeah, when it seems you can see that growth go through. You start as a plant engineer, then you can become a project engineer, or if your desires push you that way, you could do the process side as well.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
When
Where
you're
you
looking
start.
at this project engineer or the plant engineer role, right? Kind of that ground entry point. What personality traits are you looking for? What experience or like mindset skills are you looking for in that role?
So the critical background is an understanding of technology, understanding of we typically hire mechanical or chemical engineers for specific reasons, right? Chemical
Mhm.
because we're dealing with chemicals, the process. I talked about distillation columns. Obviously, if you're not a chemical engineer like myself, I'm a mechanical engineer. I had to learn the chemical part. It's not that
Mhm.
complex. it's just
Ah,
it's just concepts, right? There's a number of concepts, gases concepts that you have to be aware of, you have to understand. And if you have the ability to understand those concepts and apply those, you'll be successful in this role. If the key is you have to be someone who is action oriented and get stuff done. That's critical.
Yeah.
The other thing I say a lot throughout my career, people who are more successful in this role are the people that are creative problem solvers. That's
Mhm.
very important because we get faced with problems that no one else has ever faced before, or very few people have ever faced before, right?
Mhm.
And I can give you an example. We have right now a problem where we have a product, and the product is chlorine, and that product is causing corrosion in one of our cylinder packages. So we're trying to figure out what's causing that.
Mm.
Yeah, how do we do that?
Yeah, right.
It's typical. It's probably not a good example, but I'll go through it now, and you
Well,
can see for you at the end. Yeah,
yeah, well, I was just going to ask another question.
yeah,
From being a military person yourself, is it, and being an officer, right? So this
yeah,
is a role an officer could come into and do well if they have that
absolutely,
education. And then what
absolutely.
about like an enlisted person that maybe get like, a Navy nuke that gets their mechanical engineering technology degree as they're on their way out, that machinist
Sure,
mate. Would that be
sure.
somebody worth talking to?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I've had a few Navy nukes work
Mhm.
for me in my history, and I've been very impressed with those folks. So
Very much.
the thing about the Navy nuke is they have a breadth of knowledge, right?
Mm.
Some engineers will focus, like you say, a chemical engineer, they'll focus on one aspect of our systems, and they'll struggle with other parts. The Navy nuke guys tend to have a very broad based understanding of not only the process, but the systems, the mechanics, the materials, things like that that are very important to us.
Well, yeah, understanding how they're all tied together, right?
Absolutely,
That's important.
absolutely.
That's
And if
important.
you're a project manager, you don't just manage the one system. You got to manage the whole process, right?
Mhm. And the
Leadership.
value of coming in as a plant engineer is you're getting that exposure, you're getting that training. You're not being thrown into the deep end of like, hey, good luck. It's hey, let's start you with these smaller plant-based projects at that level. And then as you mature and grow, you can get into that, project engineering position. Or if you find yourself always going into the documentation and the EPA and all that other, well, maybe you're a process engineer.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. No, there's room for. We need all those skills, right?
Mhm.
And the people that come in here and say they become the expert in what they enjoy doing, they'll tend to be asked to do those things. So if you want to do something, be the expert in it, and people
Yeah.
ask you to do it. That's the key. It really is.
Yeah, and
Um,
I've been in this industry for 15 years helping, Linde and partners hire. And
yeah,
it's the problems you get to solve. They are complex. But two, from an economy standpoint, they're very recession resistant, the industry, because of like, hey, the AI boom, that's not going away no matter what. And
absolutely.
so, this is a great place to, I say sometimes get a job, but this is a place where you can
Yeah,
get a career because
yeah,
it's not going to go like this, the
yeah.
company.
So I'll add to that point. I don't know if you know this, but the gases industry is a very good business to be in when you consider economic cycles because our customers are so broad based. I've been through several pretty bad depressions, recessions, whatever you want to call them in the history.
Mm.
And what typically happens in our industry is that certain industries go down the path first, right? And for us, electronics tends to precede the rest of them. So electronics will tend to go down first, but then it'll recover before the other ones do. So in the gases industry, parts of our business are on the down cycle while others remain high. So it makes it a lot easier to bridge those kind of gaps. Um,
It's the diversity. Yeah.
Absolutely. And if you look at what's happening right now in our country with semiconductors, I mean, there's a ton of construction going on. There's huge growth in in this industry in the U.S. and
Yeah.
we've got a lot.
What's, people don't realize they only
No,
see what's on the front page of the news, right? They don't see what the machines behind
correct,
this
correct,
growth, which is like
right,
Linde.
right. And there's also a revolution of technology going on right now, and like you say, AI driven somewhat, but also just demand driven, and there's just a lot. So I'll leave it at that for now.
Yeah, well, I think we have a pretty good idea of kind of what you're looking for as far as these people. You're looking
Yeah,
for those creative problem solvers, those engineers that have that mechanical or chemical background.
Yep.
and the willingness to get the job done and go learn, that
And
action-oriented personality.
yeah, action-oriented leader, someone who
Mhm.
goes out there and understands what we need to get done and gets it done. Because our projects are not simple
Yeah.
typically. There's all kinds of aspects of it. You have to design, you have to build, you have to get approval for the
Mhm.
project. You have
Yeah.
to execute the project. And when you execute the project, you've got to manage contractors, manage our safety and quality departments, coordinate with operations, coordinate with a lot of folks. So does it is a rewarding job because it's complex. At the same time, it can be frustrating. But I
Yeah,
promise
but
you,
high performer, right? Like we love being challenged. So for a high
yep,
performer, this is all exciting, right?
yep,
Hey, good.
yep,
I get to challenge myself. I get to grow. There's a path I can see forward. And
yep,
that's what they're looking for. So
exactly.
I have everything I need,
Excellent.
for the veterans to be educated on the roles you're looking for. Is there anything you wanted to give before we close out this conversation?
No, I appreciate the opportunity. Linde is a great company to work for. I've been in this industry for 30 something years, as I said before. I can't say I've enjoyed every minute of it, but I can look back in my career and I can say that I'm happy with the things I've done. Some of the things I built, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, are still making this company a ton of money. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
that's satisfaction for me.
Well, great. Well, hey, again, thank you so much for putting yourself out there for our veteran job seekers. As soon as we find that right human, we're going to deliver them to you.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it. Have a great day.